This year, Groundwork San Diego is celebrating Black History Month by honoring past and present Black heroes who have made great strides in increasing equity for people of color in the arenas of public health, environmental sciences, education, and climate justice. We have invited some of the African Americans who serve on Groundwork San Diego's board of directors and members of Groundwork San Diego's leadership team to learn more about them and the roles they play at Groundwork. We also dug a little deeper to find out what motivates them and who are the Black heroes that have inspired them to do the work that they do for their community and live a life of service.
Hello, my name is Jesse Paul Jackson. I'm the creative director for Groundwork San Diego Chollas Creek. My role at Groundwork is to help tell his story and get his message out to the public. We do this through newsletters, through blogs, through social media, and I handle probably a sizable portion of the writing duties here on some of the photography duties and also videography and video editing duties as well. It's important basically with the information that groundwork garners from different sources, whether it be on matters of climate change or indoor air quality, electric vehicles, um, electricity usage, water conservation, and all the other different facets of groundworks stewardship to the Chollas Creek community, just to make sure that residents get the word out. Patrice Baker handles that in a in-person format, and mine is mostly handled, virtually or online. So, I'm responsible for a lot of the look and feel of what Groundwork puts out. Also, I'm responsible for some of the webinars and things like that that we put out to the public as well. So, that's my role is to help Groundwork, get the word out to everyone, and also basically to just chronicle a story, as Groundwork goes out into the community and, continues to do the work that it does for the community. My motivation for working with Groundwork, it stems from the fact that, I was born and raised in Flint, Michigan. And when the Flint water crisis was going on in Flint, my family was there in the middle of it. My dad, had a long-term illness that he was dealing with. My little brother was teaching in Flint, and my mom was, just taking care of my dad, as he was, going through his ordeal. And with all this happening, you know, my family and all the other residents of Flint were subjected to just bad management by the state, the city, everyone involved. You know, with a crisis that was happening with the water, with the lead in the water, and I got into doing environmental work in underserved communities for people of color because I wanted to make sure that my current home of San Diego never has to um, undergo that type of travesty of public safety. Just to be honest, it was shameful how that was all handled and managed in Flint, and I just wanted to go ahead and make sure that here in the city that I live in now and I call home, that environmental justice and environmental equity are alive, well, thriving, and that the people basically are given, the best opportunity at the best life that they can have here, and not to be subjected to, whatever any power wants to give them, tell them, or treat them in any way, just because they might not have the money, the voice, the legal representation of some of the other communities, of San Diego. So that's why I do the work that I do here. I also have been a teacher, with the Earth Lab for about 3 years. So, I just want to make sure that the next generation, is a lot more knowledgeable than I was growing up about the environment. And they understand basically that, this is in their hands, and they have the tools to basically to pick up the charge where we leave it, and will be able to go ahead and, have great control over their destiny. So that's the reason I do the work that I do. My Black hero historically is Benjamin Banneker. Benjamin Banneker is an amazing man. He was a mathematician, he was a surveyor, he was an astronomer. Uh, Banneker wrote his own almanac, and also he was an inventor as well. Um, the story that basically touched me or probably had the biggest impact on me was when Benjamin Banneker saw a pocket watch, from that was a pocket watch of one of his friends who was a wealthy merchant. He looked at the watch and he asked the merchant if he could go ahead and just borrow the watch for a little while because he wanted to see how it worked, and the merchant agreed. So Banneker took this watch, totally disassembled it, made notes of how everything worked and it was put together, then reassembled it in perfect working order. From there, he built his own clock, just a clock that basically was a wooden clock made of all wooden parts, no metal parts at all. And this clock worked for over 4 decades. Um, the the only thing why the clock actually failed was just because of a fire at Banneker's house, and the clock didn't survive the fire. But to look at something once, take it apart, study it, put it back together in working order, and then build your own larger model out of parts that pretty much can probably degrade over time, and the watch or the clock kept perfect time, precise time for over 40 years. I think is insanely amazing. He was just an amazing guy. He was also part of the team that helped design Washington D.C. So he's one of my heroes. Throughout time, he's just one of those guys who whatever he put his mind to, he figured it out and he just did it at a very high level. The heroes that I have who are, I would say, more personal or that I know personally would be my parents. My dad was a minister, and I remember just growing up and seeing him, speak from the pulpit or work with the kids because he was a youth minister, and some of that passed on to me. But one of the biggest influences that he had on me was being a writer. He had a love for words that he passed on to me as well. I would see him, on Saturdays or Fridays sometimes, and Saturdays as he wrote his own sermon. We went to the library, and I would read my books, and he would work on his sermon, and my mom would be there too. So, just the biggest influence on me, just as a writer, period, was probably my father. And then other writers like, Langston Hughes, James Baldwin, and also other storytellers like Spike Lee, and just a lot of influences out there, basically creatively in the writing field. My mother is also one of my heroes because she's the first artist that I ever encountered. And my mom, she taught me about different things like design, figure drawing, color theory, things like that as a kid. And I mean, I was like 3 or 4, and she would just show me how to draw different shapes, just to represent different things, and how to, start simply and then work your way up to the more detailed things. And, a lot of these skills that my mother taught me, I didn't know the name of them. She just taught them to me. Just being around her, I learned a lot of these skills. It wasn't until I went to college that I could put a name to a lot of the skills that she taught me. And then I was like, oh, wow, hold on. My mom taught me that when I was a kid. So, she was just intermission. She was just, instrumental just in my love of art and the skills that I have, and and that I use to this day. So my parents, they were my heroes because they were the ones who, inspired me and also gave me the skills that I was able to, use for my whole life, to be honest. It's like my parents just gave me a set of keys. And with these keys, I've been able to survive and thrive in life and open up a lot of doors. And, for the gift they've given me, I don't know if I could ever thank them. Thank
This presentation was brought to you by Groundwork San Diego, Chollas Creek.